So when you
Yeah.
look at, right, the visual is amazing there because it really does stress that point that when we have a relationship with ourselves, which is just judgmental, right? We're saying negative things to ourselves. We literally change first of all, our minds, our emotions, but even our physical body, like you see the structure of it change.
Yeah,
So
we're 70% water.
there we go. Right, right. So much of this relationship with our divine soul is really about the frequency of love and the frequency that we give over to it. And when we just start witnessing and having compassion, what is compassion? Compassion is when we actually are able to be a witness to what's happening within us, observing our emotions, observing our minds, observing our thought processes, observing our feelings of what's going on within us, but without judgment, just witnessing, just noticing, just stepping back, right? Like just take a step back and just observing what's happening without judgment. Tiferet is the one of the sphirot that's the sphira for compassion. Tiferet is compassion, it's harmony. And Tiferet is the same word as refuah, which is healing. That when we actually relate to ourselves, relate especially to these aspects of ourselves, our emotional world, and without judgment, just seeing it, just witnessing it, just being an observer, automatically we bring healing. Just the act of witnessing, just the act of compassion, of just observing without judgment, automatically brings so much healing. It says there's an idea in Chassidus, the idea that the moach sholat ahalev. It says in Tani that the mind rules over the heart. Now, very often we could think that our minds are in control, right? That we're thinking clearly, but usually, very often, there is our animal soul mind and there's also our godly soul mind. And our godly soul mind, our animal soul mind is really just recycled emotions. Like let's say we feel sad, we feel angry, right? What happens? Our mind, there's a feedback loop to our mind, and our mind then builds a whole story around that. And then that story influences our emotions as well. So very often we could say, okay, my mind rules over our heart, right? That's the process according to Chassidus. But that means in order to do that, we have to really be in a place where our Chachma, Bina, and Dat is on board, which means our prefrontal cortex functioning has to be on board, which means that we have to be regulated in our body. We have to be breathing, right? We have to be regulated. We have to be in a place where we're actually able to have choice. Because if our prefrontal cortex is not aligned on board, we don't have choice. We don't have choice over our emotions. We don't have choice over the way we respond to things. So a lot of this process of accessing our divine soul is actually through, I know connects to what we spoke about on Sunday's class, breath work, regulating our nervous system, being in a place where we're taking care of our body, we're regulated within ourselves so that we can access our true Chachma Bina Das, our true divine soul consciousness. And that influences our heart. That then we can really truly influence our emotional state. I wanted to read something. Well, I didn't bring the book in here. I want to read you a few pages from a book because I think it clarifies what we're speaking about so well. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to run out and I'll be right back. 1 second. Okay. Okay. I wanted to read this to you quickly just because I feel like I love reading, honestly, like books. And then making connections to what I learned in Chassidus and, inner Torah from it. Because I think a lot of times the language that they use in these books are just so powerful. So the book that I'm sharing you from, I think many of you may have heard of this book. It's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's a very famous book. It's an excellent, I highly recommend this book. And there is so much wisdom and so much truth in it. And the reason I'm reading to it because I think it really explains what I'm saying so clearly. So he says over here, the pain body doesn't want you to observe it directly and see it for what it is. The moment you observe it, feel its energy filled within you, and take your attention into it, the identification is broken. A higher dimension of consciousness has come in. I call it presence. You are now the witness or the watcher of the pain body. This means it cannot use you anymore by pretending to be you, and it can no longer replenish itself through you. You have found your own innermost strength. You have accessed the power of now. The unconscious creates it. Consciousness, which is das, transmutes it. The pain body consists of trapped life energy that has split off from your total energy field and has temporarily become autonomous through the unnatural process of mind identification. Now, again, the mind that he's speaking about is not the Chachma Bina Das of the divine soul, right? He's talking about the when our actual divine soul is not on board. When you start to disidentify and become the watcher, the pain body will continue to operate for a while and will try to trick you into identifying with its pain. You need to be present enough to be able to watch the pain body directly and feel its energy. Sustained conscious attention serves the link between the pain body and your thought processes and brings about the process of transmutation. It is as if the pain becomes fuel for the flame of your consciousness, which then burns more brightly as a result. This is the esoteric meaning of the ancient art of alchemy, the transmutation of base metal into gold, of suffering into consciousness. The split within it is healed and you become whole again. Your responsibility then is not to create further pain. And so I thought what he's talking about is just so powerful because he's speaking about this idea of being the witness to it. And through that process of witnessing it, that's when the transmutation, which is really the idea of ishapcha, of like this transformation happens, when we can actually just witness. So yeah, there's so much more here, and I highly recommend this book, but I thought it really just brings so to light, and in such clear language, this idea of just witnessing, of observing. We get so attached and we put so many labels onto things, but if we actually can just witness and observe it and have compassion, which is really what observing is, automatically we bring a shift in the dynamic here. Now, another point that I did want to bring out, it's getting late, but I want to bring out one more point here, is that we said in our first class that the divine soul is constant within us. It's constant, always is, it's not changing. It never went through any trauma, it's always whole. Now, the animal soul within us is the part of us that's always changing. So I think this is a really important point because when we are just present with what's happening within us and just recognizing it, that it's just passing energy. You know, we hold on to, I feel like, our emotions and what we're going through, and we hold on to it and we think it's so real. But just to recognize the only part of us that's steady is our divine soul. Our animal soul is just, it's always fluctuating. It's always passing. It's just passing energy. So when we actually see it for that, we're able to just like, wow, okay, this is energy and it's just passing. Like emotions actually are called energy in motion. So whenever we're experiencing anything, just to recognize I'm experiencing now, but it's going to pass. It's going to, if I just allow just to ride the wave and I don't resist the wave and I let it ride the wave is just going to taper off. It's just going to go down. And I think that's such an important point. And the other point I do also want to make with it is not to personalize it, right? Because a lot of times when we are feeling feelings, we start saying like, I am the feeling. I am shame. I am anger. I am down. I'm sad. I'm depressed, right? But again, it's not us. It's a part of us, right? We have this part of us, this animal soul, which is the fragmented parts many different parts of ourselves. So instead of saying, I am depressed, I am shame, change it around, but say, wow, a part of me is feeling shame. A part of me is feeling down. A part of me is feeling sad. Or there is shame within me. This is a shame. This is shame. This is shame. What I'm feeling right now, this is shame. Because the ego within us wants us to personalize it, wants us to label it, because it's holding on to its identity, because it knows it doesn't really have an identity of its own, right? And it's holding on to it to create an identity. But the more we can actually bring light, bring divine consciousness to this, bring light of our soul into it, the more we can actually recognize we are so much more. We are not that. We are not shame, right? It's an experience that we're feeling right now. It's a passing, fleeting moment. But God is recreating the world at every moment. And this moment is now. And the next moment is a new opportunity. That is when we actually start bringing divine consciousness to the experience and actually bring our divine soul on board and help to transmute and transform that animal soul within us.